Actually, I put curtains before. I wanted it here, and they look great, but on my face it's a bit strange. It's making its patterns on it, and well, it's too sunny, I guess. They're great, they're really nice, but well, no, it's not working. Too bad. Bonjour! I'm Eyilin. I do handmade cosplays in 2015 from fantasy to historical costume. If you haven't seen my previous video, I also made my own clothes. So in this first vlog, sort of video, I will show you how I made my 18th century stays. Yes, remade, because my previous version was, let's say, sloppy. But I think between that first version and the second, I have actually made progress, so I'm happy with that. I was only happy with my boning on this first version, I guess. Well, commençons. First, I started by making a mock-up of my stay, just so I can adjust my pattern if needed. I traced the different parts of the pattern on my fabric and also wire cut my mark to assemble the pieces together. Then simply cut the pieces with the fabric folded in two.
Is a thing just as long as a bean's in the place where a bean ought to be. And when it has been in the soup very long, then it's just a has been, don't you see? If the land came again, if the land came again, I've got an...
Not forgetting to cut the marks for tacking the fabric together.
Want to rhyme for any old time, just sing them all.
It helps to know how to assemble the pieces and not put it in the wrong order. I know it is important, as I struggle more than one time not doing it.
If the land came again, I've got an auntie, she lives in the...
And when you are on the sides without the lines of the pattern, well, it makes the process easier.
Just sing them all over again. Auntie, auntie, if the lanties and make a wish again.
Then let's do all of that.
Story around and it's all over town, and bigorry the joke of the season. Little Mamie, oh dear, was a beauty for fair, who broke heart after heart without reason. Now young Barney McGee was as green as could be, just a bashful and country jay, but he opened the eyes of...
Once sewed together, I put it on my mannequin and adjust the fitting.
Beginning this day, when they told pretty Mamie of young McGee, she went into hysterics and said to me, Barney McGee, Barney McGee, Barney McGee's making sheep's eyes at me.
Note that the mock-up is tested, fitted, valid. I unsewed it and used it as a pattern for the fabric of I used for the stay. I used the same blue fabric as the last one because I still had some, and it will make a real version too. It will be the same but not the same. Well, no, I know this wasn't the best fabric choice, but well, I still use it. Continue. I've then cut the edges with my big inches to clean them.
Follows me round all over town. Wherever I go, why it's Barney I see. When his tongue is the thickest, his wits are the quickest. He carries a brick and he walks with a pick. Oh, Barney McGee, Barney McGee, Barney McGee is making cheap toys.
Then started to assemble the pieces together. Again, with the marks cut on the fabric, it made it a lot easier. And then sewing it all together. At this point, I also needed a lining for my stay, and well, because it was already cut and it wasn't damaged, I used my mock-up as a lining, and well, it works well. Allez, voyons la suite. I combined both the front and lining of the stay, then folded the edges, where I'll put the eyelets into, resulting having 4 layers of fabrics. It makes it more sturdy.
I had no loving, then God no friend. I had no loving, then God no friend.
I then started tracing the boning placement on my fabrics.
No good trifling men. Never miss the sunshine till the rain begins to fall.
I didn't follow any model for where I placed them.
Never miss the sunshine till the rain begins to fall. You'll never miss your hands till another muse in your soul.
I tried recreating my version 1 of the stay placement actually.
Said she, my dear, it seems so queer I can't please you at all. You say you're hurt because I let other fellows call. I beat my eyes, I act too wise, my manners are too bold. What girl would do? Please tell me, do. He said that's easily told.
Afterwards, I sewn the boning, following my lines carefully.
She don't have to look like a girl in a book. If a good cook she should be. She don't have to wear rest in her hair or a straight front XYZ. Any little girl that's a nice little girl.
After that, I traced with chalks where I will put the eyelets. I put 8 of them on one line.
Miss Newlywed to hubby said in a Pullman parlor car, I'm going out to look.
And I end up with a problem. Remember, bad fabric choice? Well, here it was. The fabric was impossible to cross with my broad wall, and so I had to cut holes first with my small scissors, and then use the broad wall to put my eyelet on.
Little girl, that's a nice little girl, is the right little girl for me. She don't have to look like a girl in a book. If a good cook she should be.
She don't have to wear wraps in her hair.
Or a straight front XYZ.
Any little girl that's a nice little girl
Is the right little girl for me. come home this morning, drunk as he.
Let's just say my hands suffered.
My daddy come home this morning.
The fitting was really nice. I saw the difference between my first and second stay. Really happy with it so far.
God that he's understand on me.
I then had to do the finishing touches. I placed the bias stripes all around the edges. Well, let's get cozy. It was long, but very relaxing. I love to do simple hand sewing work.
Late now, he don't come home at all. No kiss neither. I know that.
They had a part where the turns on the tasset so I would sew it correctly. Well, actually, I skipped this part on my first day. I didn't make correct tassets and I couldn't sew a bias around it. Raté! I leave you with some music.
Don't like my ocean, don't be in my sea. Stay out of my valley and let my mountain be. I had no loving, there's God no fear.
There's a story around and it's all over town, and begorry the joke of the season. Little Mamie, oh dear, was a beauty for fair, who broke heart after heart without reason. Now young Barney McGee was as green as could be, just a bashful and country boy Jay. But he opened the eyes of those swell Irish guys when he said, Mamie's mine, lad, beginning this day. When they told pretty Mamie of young McGee, she went into hysterics and said to me, Barney McGee, Barney McGee, Barney McGee's making sheep's eyes at me, and he follows me round all over town. Where'er I go, why it's Barney I see. When his tongue is the thickest, his wits are the quickest. He carries a brick and he works with a pick. Oh, Barney.
Et voilà, I finished my stay. And I actually think they look great. Well, much better than my first version, obviously. I can still see a lot of mistakes. Everything isn't perfect, like the little white tasset on the side, but they have a better shape and are better fitted to my body too. They're more comfortable, which I think is the main point of a stay. I will also add some padding on the side of the lining, just so I can pull my breast up a little better. But overall, I'm glad I could make it and be happy with the second version, and that it looks better and more historical, which was the main point of this project. I really want to do more vlog video of this sort, well, just so I can record how I made my project and see where I made my mistakes too. It's very important, I think. I like to watch those kind of video everywhere on the social medias, and I think it's very useful for those that want to learn to see how we make mistakes, where we make them, and learn from that. I already have an idea for a second version of a project I've made. It's actually related to this pair of stays, so I guess you will have the next step of this project coming. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if so, please like it and perhaps subscribe. À très bientôt! Just the end. then, if you like it, let's try again. And then use the bot ball to put my eyelet on. Will you shut up?